Hello everyone and welcome to my channel and welcome to my first official video of this channel to give you a basic idea about what I'm going to be talking about here and we'll be discussing moving forward is basically PC related news, gaming news, clowning on fanboys such as the one you're going to see in this video, and overall I'm just here to have a good time talking about this stuff. So without further ado, we're going to address our first fanboy on this channel, Harmon Smith, and already we're off to a cringy start. Here we go.
Pokemon Pokepia has sold 2.2 million in 4 days, and instantly you had people like Nintendo trying to come out and say that that's it. That's not very impressive. Like, they're completely ignoring that.
All right, we're already off to a weird start. If I may give you some editing advice, you could have edited yourself out from setting up your camera in the beginning there. The video could have just started with you talking right away. Also, what's with the Diddy Kong doll on your shoulder there? It's so cringy. I also find it odd how you have close to 7,000 videos uploaded and yet only 2,800 subscribers with little to about 10 to 30 views, maybe even 60 or 100 views in each video. Also, why are you sitting as far away as possible from your microphone? Are you like scared of your own microphone or something? It sounds like you're talking through like a vacuum or something. How weird. It's picking up your signal, sure, but it sounds like shit. Anyway, let's continue.
You know, this game was sold out for a bit, that the game is in high demand, that it's just flying off the shelves. You know, I've seen people already acknowledge that, like, you know, it outsold Super Mario Odyssey in the same length of time, and that sold around, like, what, 17 million units? I think quite a bit more than that, actually. You know, Mario Odyssey was a huge success on Switch 1. So the fact that, like, Pokepia has sold this many units so quickly has demonstrated not only that the game itself is successful, but that the Switch 2 is viable, and that no longer can Nintendo pretend that the Switch 2 has no games.
The Nintendo Switch 2 barely has any games. That's because it's a new console. But go on ahead.
Okay, that's essentially what we're seeing here. But what's equally interesting is seeing, like, you know, when you compare these numbers to the immediate competition. You know, when you compare it to games like Astro Bot, when you compare it to Resident Evil Requiem, what you get is that Pokepia is absolutely stomping all of them.
That is certainly not true. A simple Google search will tell you otherwise. I mean, just look at it right here. Resident Evil 9 sold 5.5 million copies versus what Pokepia sold, They sold about 2.2 million in 4 days. Come on, man.
You know, after all that glazing, all that worship, all that hype, Astrobot sold like 1.5 million units, while Pokepia, at lifetime, while Pokepia is already well past that.
Just imagine if Astrobot was multi-plat. Imagine if it was on PC. It would sell more because millions of extra dollars is better than $0 extra.
You know, Resident Evil Requiem has sold 5 million units. Pokepia is probably already way past that. You know, what we're seeing is...
So he did Google it then. I don't understand then. You just contradicted yourself because you said at the beginning Pokepia is stomping all of those games, including RE9. Which is it?
It's just a slow, gradual, just kind of like expose of the traditional gaming journalism industry, where they put so much effort hyping up Requiem, you know, hyping up Leon, you know, trying to sell this game to like fangirls and weeb.
Okay, I'm just going to explain to you why you're wrong on that. First off, the only reason why anybody or like these exposés are happening where they're hyping up this game, as you say, is because Resident Evil is a franchise that's been around since the late fucking 90s, okay? And it's really popular. I mean, look how far it's come. We already have 9 main entries, not to mention the spin-off Resident Evil games that came out before. Also, the whole thing about the girls being hyped up for Leon. Leon is actually one of the best characters in the whole franchise. Hell, he's one of my favorite characters. It just so happens that Leon attracts females because he's a good-looking dude. No homo.
And weirdos, you know, like RE Requiem was supposed to be the biggest game of this week, and yet it was completely mogged by Pokepia, something that wasn't even supposed to be on the radar. And we keep getting told that, like, you know, these games aren't the same genre and you can't compare them, yada, yada, yada. But, like, I think it's very, very interesting, you know, because you don't really hear this kind of talk when Nintendo fans are talking about, like, PlayStation games. You know, when it comes to Nintendo games, we don't really do this thing.
You speak for the whole Nintendo fan base now? I like Nintendo, always been a fan of their IPs, but buddy, let me tell you something. You don't speak for me or any other normal person who simply likes Nintendo.
Where we're like, oh yeah, Astrobot, we don't really glaze smaller games and hype them up to be like industry leaders the way that other franchises have over the past couple of years. Because what we've seen like over the past couple of years is people just making stuff up and like exaggerating.
You literally made that stuff up at the beginning of the video. In fact, you did that in a lot of your videos from what I've seen. I believe your sources come from where the sun don't shine, if you know what I mean.
For example, pretending Clair Obscur is an indie game, even though it had a publisher.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, fantastic game by the way, was developed by a new independent studio called Sandfall Studios, making it technically an indie game. What do you think indie stands for, you troglodyte?
Pretending Astrobot was the best 3D platformer ever.
I agree with you there. It's basically a 3D Mario game clone with a robot skin. I'm surprised it won Game of the Year that year.
Mogged by Bonanza. That too has been outsold. When you look at Resident Evil Requiem, everybody came out and tried to say that well, obviously Requiem is the bigger success. Obviously Requiem is bigger than Pokopia. Obviously Requiem is the big game of this week. But instead what happened is that Pokopia just completely demolished Requiem.
It did not, and I don't think it will anytime soon. This man clearly lives in his own bubble. He huffs his own farts.
Commercially and critically, you had a couple of troll reviews that brought the Metacritic score down, but now it's tied. And I think over time, Pokopia is going to go up to 90.
They're not tied. RE9 has a higher user and Metacritic score than Pokemon Pokopia does, albeit close, but still higher. Google goes a long way.
Actually, considering the momentum it has, Pokopia has outperformed Resident Evil Requiem critically and commercially.
God, it truly astonishes me how wrong you are. It even angers me.
And yet, we're supposed to believe Resident Evil Requiem is the bigger IP because it's mature, it has guns, and it has blood and stuff in it.
Okay, there is no doubt that Pokemon is one of the biggest IPs in the world. No one is refuting that. However, when you're going to compare it to Resident Evil 9, that's a ridiculous thing to do. One is tailored to a mature audience, and the other one is literally for children. Come on, man. Use your brain.
That's been the mentality since the beginning. And even now, you see people like RGT85 do this thing where Resident Evil Requiem, it's so good, it's so adult. They completely downplay the fact that Pokopia is objectively the better game. It has more mechanics, it has more things to do, more content. It's
what you described there is an opinion, okay? It's not objectively better. It's subjectively better according to your own personal feelings and your opinions. You're also comparing two entirely different IPs where once again, one is tailored to a mature audience and the other is meant for children. Literally everyone can play it, including adults, but it's mostly garnered towards children. Get it together, man.
More fun to play. It has more. It has online features. Pokopia is objectively the better experience, but because it doesn't have Leon in it, that suddenly makes it a lesser experience. And that's been something that I've been pointing out a lot when it comes to Pokemon in particular. But I think pretty much every major Nintendo IP is that people have this idea that other games are bigger than them just because they're from other companies. Okay.
No one thinks that at all. I've played a multitude of Pokemon games growing up till this very day because I like them. That's it. I don't find myself constantly comparing Pokemon to other IPs like Resident Evil because you know why? They're two entirely different IPs and comparing them is fucking stupid.
Resident Evil is a really good example. Pragmata is a good example. Monster Hunter Stories 3 is a good example. Monster Hunter Stories 3 a while back was hyped up as being going to be a better Pokemon. And what happens? Not only has it been outsold by Pokopia, it was overshadowed by the announcement of Gen 10. Monster Hunter Stories 3 has no momentum behind it. None. In spite of all the hype and all the people trying to say it was going to be better than Pokemon. This is the end result of that.
Honestly, why do you even care? Sorry, you just heard my dog bark. Just play any fucking game you like. Why bother constantly comparing games when you can play the ones you feel like playing?
is just another train wreck in motion. And this is a game on Switch too, by the way. A one that I will not play. So when you take that into consideration, when you look at like what these games are doing, when you look at like the current situation when it comes to
That was a weird pause. Also, why do you appear like you must sneeze so badly? Like your eyes are barely open, to my guy. Go outside, clean that basement, and if not those things, maybe make a jump cut or something. Edit for God's sake.
Nintendo, and when it comes to like the way these games are being reviewed, like Nintendo is dominating the competition, like completely eviscerating them. You know,
that is so wrong. No, they're not. In fact, Nintendo would be a company to keep an eye on if Nintendo were to put their games on PC. But no, they're not eviscerating the competition at all. There are approximately 1 billion PC users on this planet, and hundreds of millions of them play on PC. That is a fact. Don't believe me? Look it up. PC is the biggest gaming platform on the planet because it literally has over hundreds of thousands of games. You want to talk about play has no limits? Try playing on a PC, son.
Like, Astrobot was a complete nothing burger of a release, and yet that was the game that Jeff Keighley decided to give Game of the Year to try and legitimize PlayStation and to try and push this as like their mascot platformer. But
I felt the same way. It blew my mind how such a basic-ass 3D platformer like that can win Game of the Year. Then again, it's Jeff Keighley we're talking about here. You shouldn't take him and the Game Awards that seriously.
But every single time, you know, Mario Kart World did better, Bonanza did better, like, you know, fucking Kirby Air Riders outsold it. You know, we always hear these YouTubers scream to the heavens about how Kirby Air Riders is like a minor IP and doesn't count as a major Switch 2 exclusive, and yet it outsold Astrobot. You know, it's like, again, the double standard is becoming very palpable, and it's something that we really do have to talk about, is that, like,
Get that fucking Diddy Kong doll off your shoulder. It almost looks like you're going to eat the damn thing.
The games that people act are like major industry trendsetters are not as big as Pokemon, okay? You know, Grand Theft Auto is not as big as Pokemon, okay? Like, Call of Duty is not as big as Pokemon, you know? Like, again, this has been like something...
Honestly, I don't think most people in their right mind really gives a fuck. I don't constantly wonder if the IP I'm playing with is as popular as some of the more well-known IPs because I'm too busy being excited about playing a new game. That's it. No need to stress about it.
That I've been like talking about a lot, but we really do have to like start creating a hierarchy when it comes to like what's competitive with what. Because this keeps leading into situations where...
What the fuck with that? Why?
We keep like running into these scenarios where you have a good chunk of the gaming community, you know, soy jacking and being like, oh, I can't wait to play Resident Evil Requiem this weekend and nothing else.
What the fuck was that? This isn't how a normal gamer behaves. So as some of you already know, I mainly play on PC nowadays. And also you can chat with me on Discord. I'll leave a link somewhere in the description. Every time I boot up a game, I just play it and that's it. I don't say I can't wait to play the game, insert game here, and nothing else. No, I always look forward to the next game, whether it be a AAA game, an indie title, or whatever. I just want to play games and that's it.
This thing... Like they put this argument out that like, oh, I have too much to play. I'm playing like race cars and fucking Resident Evil and WW2K. I don't have time to play Pokapia. And like it's just like such an obvious cope. It's so like
it's not a cope at all. Those people that make those comments about not having time to play Pokopia is because A, they have a huge catalog of games they want to play first, or, and hear me out on this, they're not interested. I'm not playing Pokopia anytime soon because I don't feel like it. And I don't own a Nintendo Switch 2. Yes, I can afford it, but I don't feel like buying one. Do you get me? Why would you call that a cope?
Delusional and off base. And like all of that stuff combined is not as big as Pokopia. Is just like the genuine like reality that we have to accept at this stage. Like what we're seeing is just more people are being exposed for being complete and total frauds. Like, so many people are being exposed as just being completely and utterly delusional. Like, so many people are just so out of touch with reality that they seriously think that Resident Evil is a franchise on par with Pokemon.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing is a complete delusional loser who lives in their mother's basement making stupid videos about why Pokemon games are better than most games out there, including Resident Evil 9. I don't know what to tell you. How bizarre.
You know, like that is something that I do think we have to push back against. Something that we do have to address. Like, Resident Evil is not and never has been as relevant as Pokemon.
He couldn't be bothered to cut himself out from pressing the stop record button on his camera. Oh well. Alright, that's all for today, folks. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you would like to see more of this kind of content where I clown on console fanboys, talk about gaming news, PC tech news, and all that great stuff. I'll see you all in the next one.